This is Flavor Flav in the building. Welcome back to the Flavor Flav Show, everybody, the original podcast. I'm so excited right now to bring on my stage, on my show, my next guest who comes from the world of professional football. Now let me tell y'all something about my next guest. First of all, he was a first-team All-American at Stanford University. You know what I'm saying? Was one of only 4 linemen in his class nominated for the Lombardi Award. And he was drafted in the second round of the NFL draft by the Miami Dolphins. Now he's currently filming a new documentary about his life and time in the league. You know what I'm saying? So everybody, welcome to my stage, to my show, my man, Jonathan Martin. Yo, Jonathan, what's up, G?
What's up, Flav?
Wow, you's a big guy, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for coming by my show, man.
Yeah, it's an honor.
Yo, my man, Jonathan Martin, right here, G, on the strength. Hey, yo, guess what? We getting ready to learn a lot about my boy. You know what I'm saying? He's got a lot to share with y'all. You heard me? And me too. Haha, I can't wait. Yo, have a seat, B.
All right.
So have a seat, right? Welcome to my spot. I got Jonathan Martin in the building. Hey, yo, so check 1, 2. So, Jonathan, man, what's been up, man? Thanks for coming to my show, first of all. It's an honor to have you here and the whole nine, you know what I'm saying? What you been up to, man?
Yeah, it's an honor to be on the show. I'm a huge fan of yours, so this is kind of like a dream of mine, getting a chance to talk with you one-on-one.
Thank you, man. How's your life been, bro?
It's good.
Since you've been off the field.
Yeah, it's been 6 years since I retired, and I worked a couple kind of more traditional jobs, but realized I need to find something that inspires me more, right? I think transition for most guys is challenging. You spend your first 2 years just kind of spinning in place, right? The way my friend described it is you retire at 27 years old with no skills and a headache. And I think that's pretty accurate, right? It's, my first job, my boss was, I think, 24, and I was 27, turned 28 at the time.
Okay.
So it's definitely a humbling experience as a former player, but, it's all a journey. Life is a journey, and, I'm thankful for the opportunity to have played professionally and played for a long time.
Hey, yo, check this out. I got some questions that I want to ask you, right? And the whole nine, and I'm quite sure, everybody in the world watching my show, just know who I got on my show. Jonathan Martin, baby. Well, check this out, G. You made it to the big leagues, bro. So I got to ask you, man. What's it like to be playing on an NFL football field?
It was a dream come true, right? It all comes so fast when you're 22 as a rookie. You go straight from your senior year of playing to the combine process. It's pretty stressful, waiting for the draft. And then finally you figure out where you're going to end up. And it really was pretty surreal for me. I remember the Phil Collins song, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. I'm not going to try and sing it, but that song came on. I remember during our first time warming up. It definitely gets goosebumps running down your arms, and I remember actually tears streaming down my cheeks. So it's definitely an awesome experience. Like the only times I was really truly starstruck when I was playing, because at the end of the day, these are your peers. But first, when I first met Reggie Bush, because he was my teammate.
Yo, I met Reggie Bush too one time.
Oh, yeah?
Come on, man. Yo, check this out. First time I met Reggie Bush, I was doing a Latin VMAs in Mexico. And he had Kim Kardashian. Right, he was going with Kim Kardashian at the time, man. Kim Kardashian was his girl and shit, you know what I'm saying? And my boy I ended up getting his number from him. He's a real good guy, man. Yo, shout out goes out to my boy, Reggie Bush. Word up, G, on the strength. I got in contact with my boy, and he sent me his jersey in the mail.
I was the biggest Reggie Bush fan growing up, right? I think every kid in L.A. was an SC fan.
Yeah.
So that was a cool moment. And then meeting Peyton Manning after he set the passing touchdown record. We played him on Monday Night Football in 2014 when I was on the Niners when he was still in Denver. I remember he set the record. They blew us out. But after the game, he was standing in the middle of the field, ringed by like 20 photographers. Just kind of sheepishly holding the game ball, like not sure what to do. And he's this huge, figure, and obviously like one of the most famous guys in the NFL. And I was like, I'm gonna say what's up to him. So walked up and like dapped him up, and I was like, congrats on the record. And he's like, thanks, man. Like very sincere. And I remember walking away from that like, wow, like that was so cool. Like I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan, so. That was a cool thing for me, is to like, be peers with guys that I used to grow up as a fan of, right? When your idols become your rivals.
Right.
So for me, that was really the coolest part, is like, I'm blocking Mario Williams or, Terrell Suggs. And, these are guys that, I used to be a huge fan of as a kid. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you why the smile is on my face so big. Because when you mentioned Peyton Manning, I got to meet Eli Manning. I got to meet his brother. And this was... I went to a Super Bowl, and the Giants were playing the Patriots.
The second one?
I think it was the second one.
07? In Arizona, just wondering, because I was there, so I was just wondering if it was the same one.
Matter of fact, the last time the Giants beat the Patriots.
Yeah, 07.
Okay, well, I went to that Super Bowl, and I got to meet Eli Manning. You know what I'm saying? Because I went to the parade. I went to the Giants parade in New York. And it started out to where I was a correspondent for Channel 5? I think it was Fox 5, right? I was a correspondent for them at the parade. Then when the Giants float was coming down the street, check this out, Jonathan. I'm forgetting names right now, man. One of the Giants players pulled me up on the floor. He was like, Flav, come on, you want to get up here? I dropped the news people's mic and everything, man. I dropped the Channel 5 mic in the street and went and jumped up on the float.
Wow.
And I hung out in the parade. And I swear to God, man, I was one of the biggest things in this parade beside the Giants. You know what I'm saying?
Did you ever think about football?
I did play football back in my day. You know what I'm saying? When I was like in the 7th and 8th grade and 9th grade. I was 4'11". You know what I'm saying? And they never had a football uniform that really fit me. Let me tell you something. My thigh pads ended up becoming my knee pads. And my knee pads was my shin pads.
Yeah.
And shit, And the shoulder pads was so big, man, looked like airplane wings and shit, man. I was 4'11", but I was fast.
That's important.
I was real fast, you know what I'm saying? And check this out. I was doing 100 yards. No joke. I was doing 100 yards in like 9.5, 9.6. That's how fast I was.
So you're moving pretty fast.
You damn right I was, man. I was fast, bro. You know what I'm saying? In the whole 9. I played football until my 9th grade. Then when I dropped out, just dropped out football and everything, But I did play some football back in the days, and it's a fun sport. You know what I'm saying? In the whole 9. And I ain't gonna lie, but to make it to where you are, it takes nothing but pure dedication, bro.
I think it's a combination of things. A major factor that guys or fans tend to overlook is injuries. Mm-hmm. I know any number of like fantastic players whose careers are derailed at an early stage because of a major injury. And it's really like an endurance sport. Like, can I stay healthy and still play at a high level?
Right.
So the thing that really like was my kind of greatest skill was, not getting injured because, I was flexible and able to bend instead of breaking.
Right.
And then also pad level, like first step quickness, right? So everyone in the NFL has like one or two things that they're really good at, unless you're, Aaron Donald or, J.J. Watt, like someone that's good at everything.
Right.
But like normally it's like one or two things you rely on. This is what I use to beat people, right? It's like some receivers are good at high pointing the ball, right?
Uh-huh.
Some receivers run great routes.
Right.
Some receivers have great hands, and some have some combination of the three. And then as an offensive tackle, being slightly undersized, even though still 315, my strength was always getting to the spot the fastest, which is like 3 kicks in your kick slide. I'm getting kind of technical with football, but like beating your man to the spot, right? So like offensive line play is all about beating your man to the spot. And that was really my kind of thing that gave me an edge when I was playing. So.
Yo, check this out. Let me ask you this off the top, right? and it's a two-part question, okay? Number one part is what made you fall in love with football? And number two, who's your biggest influences in football? What made you want to play?
Yeah, I think I grew up a huge Steelers fan. Back in like the Tommy Maddox days, so it's like early 2000s, or actually that's in the 90s.
Wow.
And I think just being a big kid, like I wasn't very good at basketball. I was kind of uncoordinated, but kind of took naturally to football. I knew how to run people over, and if you're a big dude that's kind of athletic and run people over, then that's getting you pretty far along the way of being a good football player. And then biggest influence I'd say really was my father, and to a lesser extent, but still a major extent, coaches I had, both in high school and in Pee Wee, just sort of, I remember actually being in the car my senior year of high school with the head of security at my high school. And,
right.
And he was telling me, he was like, actually this was my junior year at graduation, because I was playing in the symphony, I think, if I'm remembering this correctly. I might be misremembering. But anyways, so we're in the car, and he basically told me that, like, I could play at Michigan or at Notre Dame. Like, I shouldn't think just about Ivy Leagues. And kind of got the gears turning, because not a lot of major prospects kind of come out of LA private schools, right? So for me, like, it was just an honor to get an offer from, like, Ole Miss, from, like, an SEC school.
Right.
But I kind of had this idea that I still wanted to go to an Ivy League school. That's where my parents went. But I wanted to play football on TV, and Stanford kind of gave me the opportunity to both get that Ivy League education and also play at a high level. And I got really lucky, right? My recruiting class, same class as Andrew Luck and David DeCastro, who were both first-round picks. And I think we might have had 10 guys play at least 1 year in the NFL for my recruiting class. A rising tide lifts all ships, right? So I certainly benefited from playing with a lot of great players.
Yeah, and you mentioned Andrew Luck. That's back in the day. Because Luck, man, I mean, Luck didn't play that long, right? But then he ended up becoming a sportscaster, right, for a while.
He's under the radar right now. So he retired about 3 years ago. He got 6 years in. I actually just saw him a couple months ago.
He did get 6 years in, though,
yeah,
right?
He got 6
Luck
years.
did get. Okay, yeah. My bad. I mean, see, let me tell you something, man. Right now, you got me thinking so much of my childhood. From back in the days when I used to, be in the football when I was a kid. When I grew up, right, coming up as a kid, because I grew up in New York, on Long Island. You know what I'm saying? And my first football jersey and helmet that I ever got was the New York Jets, number 12, Joe Namath. You know what I'm saying? And see, back in the days when I was little, you know what I'm saying? Joe Namath. There was Joe Namath. There was Bart Starr. I remember Bart Starr back in the days, number 15. I'm taking it back, bro.
That's like 60s, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because I was born in 59.
Okay.
So I grew up in the 60s with all of that, you know what I'm saying? And back in the days, Refrigerator Perry, big Refrigerator Perry, man, you know what I'm
85
saying?
Bears.
John Mackey, back in the days, he was on the Colts.
Yeah, tight end, right? Because there's a Mackey trophy now.
Yeah, see, I'm old. You're new. So,
I feel old. I mean,
Oh, man, but hey, this ain't about me, bro. This is about you, bro. You know what I'm saying? Word up. You grew up in L.A., right?
I did.
And you had a very, very, very unique childhood, man. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think it's a very unique experience going to LA private schools. Because you're around the children of movie stars and of extremely successful Hollywood folks. And certainly a blessing. Like, I think 17 kids from my senior year of high school class went to Stanford. I think 30 went to Penn. So it's very much a pipeline.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself, like, school did its job, right? You went from high school to a great college.
Right.
The biggest thing for me is just like, developing life skills, right? It's a very insular, protective bubble, right? Which is a great thing. At the end of the day, like, once you actually deal with real life situations, it can be a little frustrating. We didn't have those experiences just because I think a lot of times going to those, bougie private schools, like, there's always someone to like an adult swoops in and like fixes the problem, if that makes sense. So it's like this kind of helicopter parenting on steroids, and it just takes a little longer to fully develop as a person, at least from my perspective, having that sort of, adolescence. I'm thankful for it, right? I only applied to 2 schools, Harvard and Stanford. I got into both, right? So it's obviously a blessing going to a school where it's like that is the opportunity available to you. Football certainly helped a lot. So overall, a positive experience.
How did you like it up at Stanford? And which was better? Which was better to you, Harvard or Stanford?
So I have a family connection to Harvard. I really wanted to go to Harvard. I was committed to Harvard for like 6 hours, I think, before decommitting and committing to Stanford.
Wow.
So I've had the best experience at Stanford, right? Because we were a really good football team. We had back-to-back years. 1 year we were 12-1. The second year we were 11-2. My last 2 years there. Blocking for Andrew Luck, who's runner-up to Heisman both those years. Playing with a lot of other great NFL players. So fantastic experience, and great relationship with the school. It's been fun to see David Shaw continue the program at a high level now for a decade. I saw something. He's actually the longest tenured. I
haven't heard that name in a minute. Whoa!
He's the longest tenured black head coach at a major D1 school.
Right.
And I believe he's been Pac-12 coach of the year 3 times. So definitely has the program running, and it really don't have any bad things to say about Stanford. So
wow. Hey, yo, check this out, right? So you went to college, man. You know what I'm saying? At one of the best academic schools in the world, bro. Stanford University. Was it hard to balance academics with football at a school like that?
You definitely have like a normal course load. Having talked to other guys who went to other schools, like it varies if you want to work hard on academics at a lot of places as a football player. If you don't, then you can take online classes and like you can get some assistance there. But we were encouraged to take normal classes and definitely challenging, especially for guys who wanted to be engineers, right, or like math majors, kind of the more technical degrees. Like they definitely struggled a lot. But that's kind of what you're signing up for. I viewed football as a job. It's something that Saturdays were fun, but during the week, obviously, it's a little bit of a grind. But it's paying for my scholarship,
right?
It's putting food on the table, so like Stanford's just such an amazing place. There's so many amazing minds at a place like Stanford.
Right.
I got the chance to get to know Condoleezza Rice a little bit. She's a big
wow.
I met her like once or twice.
Yo, that's big, bro.
And Tiger Woods. So there's a lot of folks who are around the program.
I got to meet Tiger Woods one time too.
Yeah.
But you know what? Meeting Condoleezza Rice is like me also wanting to meet Colin Powell.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace to the general, man. Word up, G. Rest in peace to General Colin Powell from the BX, and that's where I'm from, the Bronx. Word up on the strength, you know what I'm saying? Check this out. Now, at Stanford, right, you are a 2-time All-American and got nominated for the Lombardi Award. Woo, that's big, man. I think that's bigger than you are. How did that feel?
It's funny when it's happening. I was 20 or 21 at the time. You kind of take it in stride. And my biggest thing, any kind of accolades or career success I had, I always compared myself to David DeCastro and Andrew Luck, who are like DeCastro is the best lineman in football. Our last year in college, right? He had a 10-year NFL career, was 5-time All-Pro, So there's always this other tier. So I would get accolades, but always compare myself to Andrew Luck, who did everything perfect. Right. So it's one of those things where I think I appreciate it now more some time and distance. It's a cool thing to have accomplished in school, but at the same time, I think it speaks more to our team success. And that's why, several of us were able to get, awards after our success. So
now, let me tell you something, man. With all of these big come-ups that you've been having, you know what I'm saying? Coming out of college, being in college, man, you know what I'm saying, in the whole nine. And getting nominated, man, for these big awards, man, like the Lombardi Award and everything. To me, I don't care what nobody say. You have more luck than Andrew Luck.
He got a $137 million contract. So
yeah, I was just saying, you ended up getting drafted, G, in the NFL, bro. What was that like?
It was pretty surreal. So draft night, I had some friends and family in town, and we had an ESPN TV crew and a TV set up
Yeah.
And, I thought I was hoping to be a first round pick. So either first or second round pick is kind of the guidance I was given. So, the first day, I think this was the second year of the draft, the first day only being first round picks. And I remember being like pretty upset or like crestfallen after the first day, right? 'Cause I was like, man, I want to be a first round pick. Like they took out, 7 linemen. I was one of the 7 or whatever. But then being an early second round pick the next day was a pretty cool feeling. And, getting drafted to a franchise like the Miami Dolphins was definitely an honor and just cool to know where you're headed.
Right.
And everything's so competitive in football. There's always something more unless you're the number one pick. You're like, man, why am I not that guy?
Right.
And that's just how you're programmed.
Right.
So, it's really hard for me at any point to enjoy any success because for me it was always like 24 hours of enjoying something or mourning something and then on to the next thing. So you don't really have time to process anything. But, I think that keeps you kind of sharp as a competitor. Always striving for the next thing and not looking in your rearview mirror. So.
And you know what? I know the feeling deep down inside, bro, of how your family felt because I know everybody in your family went crazy. I know everybody went crazy in your family. How did it feel? How did it feel being one of the only members of your family? You know what I'm saying? To cross this milestone of getting into the NFL, and like all attention is now on you because you like the family favorite.
Yeah, it's
and the neighborhood favorite too. Come on now. I know everybody from your town and your neighborhood. Come on, man. Everybody was proud of you, bro. Come on.
It's an experience for sure. Because you don't get a ton of attention as a lineman in college, especially at Stanford. Even though we were good, I talked to a reporter maybe 3 times. Total in college. Then when you're an NFL player, it's like the spotlight is on you, right? Your job performance is graded every week by the media.
Right.
But speaking to like draft day with my folks, obviously that was an amazing moment. It was pretty fun to celebrate with my family and to be a high draft pick, right? But it's a job. It is a different beast playing in the NFL, both on the field and dealing with everything that comes with your responsibilities with the media or dealing, with the community or the organization. It definitely is a jump, especially at a young age when they're throwing a bunch of money at you.
Right.
So it's absolutely an adjustment for everyone, I think, at first.
And you know what? All of this for you happened because of all of those days of dedication that you put into from back in high school days. You know what I'm saying? And even on your off time, I know you were still out there playing a lot of football with the boys. You know what I'm saying? And then you end up getting into college. You know what I'm saying? And then even on times like when you were off during the school year, you were still playing football, right? I mean, because football, you got to dedicate yourself. It's like damn near everyday thing, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So
did you play every day?
You can't play football every day. I did something. I did something proactive every day, working out or stretching. Something to make myself better. Right. I was really big on that, and I think honestly, the thing that makes me any different than anyone else is, I was given some God-given skills, and then I just didn't quit.
Right. You never gave up, man.
And football at the end of the day really is just showing up on time and working hard. If you can do those 2 things, right, be there on time and then put in all your effort when you're there, then you can be successful. And then it takes some luck as well. But I think the biggest thing is it's not some mystery about how you can make it to the NFL. It's really just about dedication over years, right?
Do you think you got to where you are now because you just tried so hard?
I think I was blessed with some athletic talent, right? Not everyone's born 6'5" and can carry 320 pounds with quick feet.
Right.
But I think also just being put in good situations, right? Having good coaching, being in a winning program. Like, Stanford could have easily, like historically, they've had decades where, teams win 3 games a year, right? So it could have been a stretch of just like a really terrible Stanford team, right? And could have derailed my career. Could have gone to Harvard. Any number of different things could have gone differently. So the stars kind of aligned in terms of right place, right time, staying healthy, and then just wanting to be good, right? You got to really want it, if you want it to happen. So
the reason why I asked you the question like that is because my thing is this: when you try and you try hard, as long as you try, you're guaranteed to succeed. But when you stop trying, that's a guaranteed failure. You know what I'm saying? And you are an example of success because you tried. So that's why I asked you the question like that. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's funny you say that. Just last point. There's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. She's a psychologist, and she talks about like the most important skill for a human to develop is the ability to stick to something, for a long period of time, like over a 2-year long time horizon, and learning that skill, right? Because that really is a skill to not quit when things get hard, and really that is football at its heart, like just not quitting. So
right. Hey, yo, check this out. There's a lot of people around me when I got kind of big and famous, and I did come into some dough. Some people around me did change. You know what I'm saying? But I never changed. The only thing that changed was my lifestyle. But did you experience that? Did you have to experience the people around you that change and acting funny and shit?
I think it comes with the territory. Definitely different. Like people see you as the football player first and foremost, right? And I never really loved that. I pretended like I loved that, but I feel like people weren't authentically seeing me for me. It was just like what I could do for them and me being the football player. But the way I look at it is, every loss is a lesson.
Right.
Life keeps going on, and I think you lose half of your friends and make a new half every 7 years or something. I heard that one time.
Okay.
So I think that is part of it. You kind of outgrow relationships, and that's just kind of the course of life. And maybe that's magnified if you happen to be a successful guy at a young age. And the thing about being, a rapper or a professional athlete is, people have a general sense of like how much you're making, especially as an athlete, because it's reported, right? So people are like, it makes you a target automatically, right? So I can remember agents like reaching out to me on Facebook when I was still in college, offering to fly my parents to Hawaii for a vacation or whatever. It's people trying to build a relationship with you.
Right.
But, I was always sure to walk on the straight and narrow and just kind of avoid all that stuff, which isn't always the case. So, yeah.
So check this out, right? So now the Miami Dolphins, you know what I'm saying? I know there was some drama that went down, you know what I'm saying, in the whole nine. We're going to get into that. But tell me what it was like being in Miami before that negative stuff happened. Because let me tell you something. Flavor Flav loves Miami. And I love me some Miami, G. You know what I'm saying? Tell me what was your favorite part of being in Miami.
It's an experience. It's like a foreign city if you haven't been there before. So my first time there was to play in the Orange Bowl 2 years before. We played against Virginia Tech. The 2011 Orange Bowl was my first time in Miami. And we were just there for like a couple nights and then flew back. Actually stayed in the Fontainebleau.
Fontainebleau, that's one of my favorite spots.
That is a beautiful
Everybody stays at the Fontainebleau. Everybody.
But yeah, so moving down there, so the facility's in Plantation, Florida, which is kind of up north, closer to Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
A little bit south of Fort Lauderdale. So you're about 40 minutes north of Miami. And I lived like another 20 minutes north of Fort Lauderdale. So, I was pretty far from Miami. I went down for, some of the nightlife on occasion. But didn't spend a lot of time in the city proper, to be honest. And I just wasn't a very happy camper for a lot of my time there. So, I didn't really engage too much with the city. But, I've only been back once. I would love to go back to Miami more. I wonder how it would be received sometimes. Would people even remember? I don't know. I would like to not be disliked by Miami fans, but they might feel some type of way for certain reasons.
There's one thing that always scared me about living in Miami. Alligators. It's shit, you know what I'm saying? Because I know that's alligator country, man. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't worried about alligators and all that stuff.
I was right by the water. I went to was there
alligators in the water where you was right by?
So where we'd stay the night before games was this hotel in Weston. It had some swampy kind of areas. I never actually saw a gator. But I'm on the same page as you. Like I'm good on wildlife. Like I can watch that on TV on the Discovery Channel. So
I went down this road they call Alligator Alley. And there was a whole bunch of alligators, man, just lined up in the waters and shit. It was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it was a long road. I'll never forget. It's a very long road. And I'm like, I feel sorry for any bikers that's going down that road because Sometimes them alligators come out and they just sit in the middle of the road.
Yeah, no thanks.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you trip over one of them things, man, or whatever, and you fucked up in the road, I guess you end up being their food.
That might be it.
You never
That might be it.
None of that never concerned you though, huh?
No.
I mean, my imagination is crazy, so you know.
I thought about sharks sometimes, but yeah, we
Yo,
went
the
deep
sharks
sea fishing
too.
once, and we saw. So it was a fishing competition. It was actually a Dolphins team competition. So everyone's on different boats, and we pulled in a sailfish. So you're just dragging lines behind this boat.
Wow, a sailfish.
And we caught a sailfish, but another boat hooked a 150-pound hammerhead shark.
Wow.
And I guess was reeling it in to a certain point, then let it go. But I was like,
Did you catch the sailfish?
I mean,
because I caught one.
Catch, sure. I'll take credit. I reeled it in.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And we used a balloon and live bait to catch it.
Oh wow.
We used and so we had a live bait on the end of the hook, and then the line was attached to a balloon, and then the boat just went about like damn near half a mile away from the balloon. And the whole shit. When we seen the balloon go down, I said, okay, Flav, start reeling. And I was reeling. It took me about an hour and a half.
It takes forever.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was with my boy Jack Hamilton, man. You know what I'm saying? We rented a fishing boat out in Fort Lauderdale. And took me an hour and a half to reel that thing in. But when we finally reeled that thing in, we got it to the side of the boat. I couldn't kill it. I couldn't do it. They gave me a metal pole and said, Flav, you got to hit it in the head.
Oh, wow.
And the whole nine. I couldn't do it.
So you're nonviolent.
So I gave them the metal pole. They hit that thing. And then when they pulled it into the boat, I swear to God, G, you did not see Flav around that fish. I was up in the tuna tower. Oh, man. That was crazy, bro. But my sailfish was 7 feet and 3 inches. And my boy Jack Hamilton's sailfish was 7 feet 2 inches. But we kept it. And they stuffed it, put it on the wall down in the Keys and stuff. How big was your fish? Can you remember?
I mean, it was pretty good size.
And was it the biggest fish that you ever caught in your life?
That's the only fish I've ever caught. So yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm not a fisher. I'm not an outdoorsman. I told you, like I'm a city dweller. Like
okay,
yeah.
All right, you got me on that one, G. All right, so check this out, right? Okay, now let's get down to the drama in Miami, G. You know what I'm saying? Word up. Yo, there was a scandal that you were involved in called Bullygate. Involved another player, man, named Richie Incognito. What could you tell us about that, G? Tell us, man. Come on.
Yeah, I would say at the first thing, 9 years of time distance from it kind of gives you a lot of time to think about it and a lot of perspective to mature and kind of, I wish I would have done several things differently in that time. That situation affected a lot of people's lives negatively, and that definitely, still sits with me today. Just the fact that, like, I'm not the only person that had kind of a negative reaction to it. But overall, these are a lot of things that I'll cover in a documentary that I've coming out next year, really to get into detail. But there's a lot of things.
You got a documentary coming out?
I do. Working on a project. Discuss Bullygate, a few other aspects of my athletics career. I think.
What is Bullygate?
They gave it that moniker. I don't know who gave it that moniker, but after what's the scandal with Richard Nixon? Why can't I remember it? So thank you to our producer, remind me. But so Watergate, the scandal with Richard Nixon. So now everything they add gate to the end, right? So it's Deflate Gate when Tom Brady was deflating footballs allegedly. So the moniker they gave to our situation or my situation was Bullygate. Right, because for most people, it's just like you just see a couple headlines, you get a couple tidbits of the story, and it's like, how does this guy that's 6'5", 315 pounds, a starting NFL tackle, get bullied, right? And I certainly appreciate that confusion.
You around?
It's, again, I'll get into details in the documentary. I will say that I don't personally believe there's any such thing as bullying in the NFL. I wish that story would have been litigated a lot differently. and not been in the media in the first place. But those are things that I'll certainly, happy to get in a lot more detail, with my film project.
Okay. I mean, because, I know the whole world would like to know these questions that I'm asking, because, shit, bully, I never heard the word before and everything, you know what I'm saying? And I know that bullying goes on in all sports, just in all sports, man, you know what I'm saying? You got players that swear they're better than the other players, or you got some good players that look down on players that's not on their level. You know what I'm saying? And the whole nine. But you saying that you were bullied? How?
It's
because you big, bro.
Yeah,
and let me tell you something, man. You're too big to be bullied. If anything, somebody will be bullied by you, not you being bullied by somebody. How in the world, big as you is, get bullied?
And I think that speaks to why I'm frustrated with the fact that it's called Bullygate and referred to as bullying. Sure, I had an issue with some of my teammates, but just like when something gets into the media, it takes on a life of its own. Certainly there's some things that I wish would have gone differently in Miami with regards to my relationship with my teammates, but I also don't think that it should have been played out in the media as it was, right? And that's kind of the perspective I have is, to your point, I think there's bullying on every team in America. Like, to a certain level, you need people like that, especially in football. Like, you need Richie Incognitos in football. You need Vontaze Burficts. You need some guys with an edge who might not be fully mentally stable because the game is such a violent game, someone that, like, sets the tone. And when you think about Richie Incognito, like, he is the quintessential NFL offensive guard, right? Like, if you're going to get into a street fight.
That's his real last name, Incognito?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, you just using that as a name.
That's what he calls himself.
The name was changed to protect the innocent.
That might be the answer. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. All right. See, I'm trying to get the feel of this, man, because I'm trying to learn your life. And I'm trying, I'm trying to let everybody else that's watching my show learn your life too. Because I'm quite sure they just as interested as I am, bro. Shit, man. Come on, man. You, what, 6'5"?
6'5".
You 6'5"? Who in the world can bully us? The only guy in the world, I think, that could bully a 6'5" guy is a 7'5" guy. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's bigger than you.
And if you, so again, speaking to like what it's like being conditioned in LA private schools, right? It's like you don't get into fights. I had never been in a street fight in my life going to the NFL, right? So there was a level of culture shock because I do come from, somewhat of a bougie or privileged background, right? Going to school like Harvard Westlake, then going to Stanford, like that's sort of a trajectory that, people normally take to Wall Street or to working in film or working in tech or whatever it is. Not so many become NFL players, right? So like all that training I had to act a certain way, right, to perform in a white collar job did not apply to the NFL, right? So it's really just this culture shock, right? I've been raised a certain way, like say please and thank you, make the other person feel good, even if you make yourself not feel as good, if that makes sense, right? So always building the other person up, and that doesn't work in the NFL, which is glorified, prison, right? For lack of better comparison, right? Where it's like really is just 55 plus alphas in a room, and it's like, there's going to be some abrasive things going on, especially in a game like football where it's a zero-sum game. So like in an NFL meeting room, a lineman meeting room, there's normally 7 active roster NFL linemen, and then let's call it 3 practice squad guys, so 10 total. And everyone's fighting for those 5 starting spots, right? Okay. So like even though you're friends with these guys, like we're fighting over the same money, right? So even though I was good friends with Joe Staley and Anthony Davis on the 49ers, like they're both still the starters, right? They're the ones making the $10+ million salaries. And like, I want that salary, right? I want to be in that spot. So it just makes this dynamic where you're always competing with your teammates, and you kind of have to look out yourself. You have to look out for number one to a certain extent. And then, I think the other thing really is just like, I don't think people realize how big NFL players are. Like I was a big dude at 6'5", 315, right? I could throw up 225 20 times. Like, so I was a big dude compared to your average human being. But like for NFL linemen, I was more average sized, right? And strength, I was on the lower, quartile probably. So, like Richie Incognito probably squatted 700 pounds, benched 600 pounds, right? And, John Jerry was 6'7", 360 pounds. Mike Pouncey, I assume has been in street fights before. So it's just like a very different environment than what I was used to.
Right.
And, just being immature and not knowing how to handle a tough situation, right? So.
Wow. Whoa, man, my man. Yo, you've been on a journey, kid. I ain't gonna lie, but I'm kind of excited for your documentary, you know what I'm saying? And I've been hearing a lot from a manager who also is known as my little brother, Tarek. And he's also your producer. You know what I'm saying? Is there any chance you'll be wanting to enter the entertainment business after doing this documentary?
It's a great question. I don't think I really have any desire to be an actor and deal with that lifestyle, just from what I've heard anecdotally from other people. But something sitting in your position would speak to me, being someone that interviews people and talks about interesting stories. Things I'm really passionate about, like, for example, head injuries in football, something I want to talk about, or UFOs. We were talking about this offline. He told me to leave the UFOs alone.
Yes.
But yeah, so something potentially in front of the camera. But I spent the last couple of years in real estate and finance and realized that, without a better way to put it, like, I'm too much of an angry black man to work in the corporate world, just being completely honest. Like, something in Miami, some experience related to that, I lost my filter. So, like, a lot of that conditioning you get, like I said, that, trains you a certain way, like, I lost that. And, like, it's just been hard to regain it and just, like, deal with what it's like to be, like, literally the only black dude in the office in a lot of these jobs. And, you have allies. There's lots of good people. All those things. You have ambition and goals, and it's you can be the one that catalyzes change and recruits additional minority people to the office. Blah blah blah. My whole thing is, like, I'm just too prideful. Like, that's probably my biggest character flaw, is being prideful, right? So it really takes time to humble yourself, and I think that's just so important. What's the Marcellus Wallace quote? Like, pride is a motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
Pulp Fiction is my favorite movie, But yeah, so just, it's really humbling myself and just realizing that, like, any new career is going to take 10 years to be good at, just like it took 10 years to be good at football.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, right? Before you retired, right? You played on the 49ers, man, with my man Colin Kaepernick. You know what I'm saying? In the whole nine. What was that like, man? And then also, what's your opinion on what he's done? You know what I'm saying, with the social activism of athletes. You know what I'm saying, like him and one of my most favorite basketball players in the world, LeBron James.
I'm a huge Kaepernick fan.
Yeah, playing with Colin Kaepernick.
It was a cool experience for sure. Because I was teammates with him before he had fully embraced the social justice narrative or platform that he has now. I remember him wearing the pig socks. So he had these socks on with cops as pigs. I remember practice the day he wore those. And then, like, Fox News picked up on that. All the conservative news outlets, criticized him. But I'm a huge supporter of athletes being activists and using platforms. It's one of the few arenas where you have kind of young black people that are at the top of their game, extremely successful. There's not a lot of other places where you see that. Really successful black folks in their 20s. Mm-hmm. So Kaepernick, I'm a huge supporter, and I think his vision, his goals are things that I'm certainly on board with. I think that he's also, and this is probably self-admitted, I would imagine, I haven't talked to him in years, but he's also a capitalist, right? You can't overlook the fact that he's also benefited financially from this stuff, and I assume that some of that is to continue to build his platform and further his message, right? But there is this component of being a capitalist where you're also an activist. So
I think he did a good job, man. You know what I'm saying?
He sacrificed his career, right? So
because LeBron James, he's like that too. He's like one of my favorite basketball players. You know what I'm saying? In the whole nine, and one thing that they do, they try to get the message across to the people, man. You know what I'm saying? In the whole nine, and hey, listen, man. Certain messages, man, need to be heard. So I do respect what Colin Kaepernick did, mainly with taking that one knee on the national anthem, and the whole. I can't blame him. I can't blame him. He did the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And there is a thing called freedom of speech.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, the difference between the NBA and the NFL, you got to think about the owners and the culture. Like, the NBA has definitely embraced kind of inner city culture, Black America.
Yeah.
Nike has a lot more than the NFL has. The NFL is still very conservative. A lot of the shot callers of the NFL are conservative white dudes still too, right? So it's just a different sort of environment than LeBron. And I think also Kaepernick took it, he kept pushing the boundaries, right? Like his recent documentary on Netflix, like he just pushing the boundaries, which I think is important, right? But it came at the cost of his career, right? Because, you know, folks, I guess they gave him a tryout at some point, but that had its own sort of situation involved with it. So, like, he is so tied to a stance and not budging from it that I think it's just tough for the NFL to get on board with, which is, I think, their loss because, you know, the country is diversifying, right? Like, you know, history will reflect on Kaepernick like Muhammad Ali, right? Like in a very positive light. You know, so I think that's the reason why Roger Goodell, for example, came out and said Black Lives Matter in 2020. Like he had that whole press release.
Right.
I think it's because like they realized that like that is the right side of history. Like the way we think about the civil rights movement in the 60s.
Right. Like
Muhammad Ali is, you know, a venerated figure, right? Whereas at the time, like he was hated, or MLK was hated at the time, right?
Right.
And now, like we have this very positive memory of them, and I think it's likely to be similar with Kaepernick, just because he is on the right side of history. Like I think that's inarguable. So
I can understand where you're coming from, bro. You know what I'm saying? And like I said earlier, because everybody's entitled to their own opinions, and all opinions are to be respected. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes down to that national anthem, I want to rewrite the end of it. Land of the free, home of the Flav.
wow.
You know what I'm saying? Land of the free, home of the Flav.
That should be like an album cover.
And then also, you mentioned Muhammad Ali. And I have a godson. His name is Nico Ali Walsh. And he is the grandson of Muhammad Ali.
Oh, wow.
And I got him in the ring boxing.
Okay.
Yeah, I got him in the ring. And right now, he's 2-0. And he has his third debut fight, his third pro fight coming up, Madison Square Garden on December 11th. And I feel that 3-0 is coming up. So when you say these names, there's always some type of affiliation that I have with mostly every name that you threw up. You know what I'm saying? In the whole now, I just didn't stop you in the middle. You know what I'm saying? To tell you this. I don't want to drag this out. I want you to get your points across, bro. You know what I'm saying? In the whole nine. So you played with Colin and the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? Then you had a brief time with the Carolina Panthers. Then you retired. What led to your retirement?
Honestly, after my whole situation in Miami, I was just very over playing football. You know, I had my year with the Niners and would have made the team with the Panthers when I left the team. But, you know, I had an injury that I probably could have got surgery on and been out a year and kept playing. But it's kind of two things. One, just like I hated dealing with questions about Miami, and they always came up. Like every time a reporter talked to me, every article would be framed like, you know, Bullygate victim speaks out. And I just was tired of that crap. And then also some of the stuff about head injuries was coming out. You know, I'm obviously the tragic case of Junior Seau, I believe in 2012, was like the first major case where they talked about CTE with like a well-known player.
Right.
Then the movie with Will Smith, I believe was in 2015. And just,
right, I seen that too.
Yeah, concussion.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yo,
you're deep, bro. You're real deep, man. I'm glad I'm doing this with you, cause you know what? I ain't gonna lie, but that movie defines a lot. And you're sitting here now defining what that movie meant. You feel me?
For sure. And it's one of those things where I think when guys are playing, you kind of acknowledge that you're probably going to have like mobility consequences, like get a knee replaced or, you know, have stiff ankles or stiff back, whatever, when you retire. But I don't think most guys fully appreciate the psychological consequences, right? Like, you know, I never had a reported concussion, but I've participated in different studies since I've retired, and you can see on an MRI evidence of a moderate concussion or concussions, plural, and I was never diagnosed with one, right? So it's one of those things where severe headaches are kind of par for the course. Every football player gets those. If you want to be good at football, that's kind of what's going to happen. But, you know, the depression that comes with head injuries, like, really sucks. Like, speaking from experience, like, the depression and anxiety that comes from it is tough. And then you're also dealing with this, transition from the sports. It's a number of different things where you're like, trying to reform a new identity and then dealing with hand injuries. But honestly, it was really just using my head a lot and realizing that every time I use my head, like, it's one of those things where I have friends that smoke cigarettes, for example, and everyone has their own choice. But like, that is going potentially to give you lung cancer, right? And that's a choice you're making.
Right.
And it's the same thing with football where it's like, it's fun to play for a long time because you can make so much money, right? It's tens of millions of dollars potentially for an NFL starter.
Right.
But just also acknowledging like there are going to be psychological consequences. And I think for me, just like liking my brain and already knowing that was kind of affecting me cognitively, right? Like,
right.
I was just like, man, like, why am I so depressed all the time, right? And just really just being like, man, like, I really don't want to destroy my brain. Like, there's other careers I want to pursue once I'm done with football. So a combination of things, and ultimately, like, it was a pretty easy decision for me. Like, I feel like I got my fill of what it was like to play in the NFL. Right. I started, I think, 32 or 33 games, right? That's a decent number, and, was able to play in 2/3 of the stadiums and, have a lot of the experience that I wanted to get out of it, right? And I could have made more money. That's ultimately, what was in front of me and what was motivating me. Yeah. But the way I look at it is there's lots of ways to make money over a lifetime, and just having options. And that actually speaks to, like, the NFL, they don't necessarily want guys with options. And the reason why I say that is at the combine, I remember my agent actually told me to dumb it down in interviews. And to dumb it down to, like, like the Lupe Fiasco song, Dumb It Down, right? The idea being that, like, I don't want to come across as too much of an intellectual or someone that's, I might go to law school when I'm done playing. Okay. Because, the coaches just want to hear that you want to play football. You want to be a football player, right? Right. And that's kind of frustrating to me that you can't be both. Okay. But you have to sacrifice so much physically, right? Like, probably 2/3 of NFL players are guys that, like, are good at what they do and making a lot of money, and that's why they play. They don't necessarily love the sport. Right. It just is, money right in front of your face. Right. And then, there's probably a third of guys who really like playing, or, like Ray Lewis obviously loved playing football, Peyton Manning, there's guys like that. But, NFL stands for not for long, right? So I'm giving you a really long answer, but really.
It's okay. The longer the answer, the better, because at least people get to learn more.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just really a combination of things, and liking my body and liking my brain, and just knowing that this was going to have consequences if I kept playing. And then also just like the team doctors, there's kind of this distrust between players and the team training staff and the doctors. Right. Like, you don't always report every injury, for example. Like young guys, I had a friend who was an undrafted rookie, and he sprained his ankle, and his position coach told him to rehab in the hotel bathroom during camp as opposed to going to the training room. Wow. Because, like, they know you're going to the training room. Coaches know you're going to the training room, right? And like a common phrase people say is, like, the out-of-shape player, the injured player, and the unmotivated player all look the same to a coach, right? So the idea being that, like, just don't show weakness in terms of injuries. Right. And that sort of mindset when I had, like, a major back injury, and, like, I told them about it, and they were telling me, like, just keep your hamstrings flexible, you'll be okay. And then I get a second opinion, and
what do they mean by don't show weakness of injuries? I mean, shit. I mean, if you got an injury, it's going to make you a little weaker than you know. And how could you not show that? Mainly if you're in pain. Just like saying, if you fuck up your leg, man, you're going to limp. How you not going to show that? You know what I'm saying?
There's degrees to it, right? If you have a fully torn hamstring, obviously you're going to show pain and be out for a while, right? But like sprains or like minor injuries, like after 1 week of camp, every NFL player is dealing with something, right? Sprained wrist, sprained ankle, knees banged up, back hurts, something hurts. And by like week 10 of the season, like everyone has a fairly significant injury that they've dealt with already during the season. So it's like, there's levels to it, right? That things that you play through, but that's why you have painkillers, right? So you can play through these things, if we're just being completely honest. Right. And it's pretty much impossible to play at the NFL level without taking some kind of painkiller. So,
wow. Yeah. And you know what? Let me tell you something, man. Because a lot of that you said earlier, and the answer of your question, I can also relate that to boxing. And the reason why is because, boxers, they're always getting punched in the head. You know what I'm saying? And later on down the line, it affects their speech. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, so whatever you do now, it's going to affect you later. I don't give a fuck what it is. Whatever you do now, it's going to affect you later, man. So I can understand and I can dig where you're coming from, man, with this head injury shit. Because head injuries are hard to bounce back from.
So this is actually something I'm really passionate about, is encouraging kids to wait until high school to play football. You can get a lot of the same skills wrestling or playing basketball in terms of hand-eye coordination, agility. Wrestling, you learn leverage, right? Like, you could be a successful football player picking it up later in your development. And the reason why I say that is, like, just the fewer hits to the head they can get early on and still, achieve whatever goals you want to achieve playing collegiately or whatever, the better. Like, you don't need to play football at 9 years old. Right. And the other thing I really emphasize is reporting head injuries. We used to kind of joke that we played better with concussion. Like, we would headbutt each other until we had a headache.
Right.
And like, I probably had a headache every day playing football for 13 years. Right. Wow. That's just the nature of the game. And just being smarter about reporting like serious symptoms. Cause like, I can remember a few times where I was like kind of fuzzy, but I didn't want to report symptoms. Right, because like I was like, is this a real injury? And you're kind of asking yourself because it's fully self-reported. Right. Versus a sprained ankle where there's swelling and like an actual injury. It's like, okay, I'm kind of fuzzy. Am I concussed? Am I dehydrated? So I'd really encourage young players, like, be really smart about that. Wait until you are in high school to playing football, and then also practicing heads-up football. Right, so that's the biggest thing that like the NFL is pushing. Keeping your not spearing players, and like a lot of the rule changes have taken out the really dangerous hits. But it's impossible to play the game without using your helmet, right? If you want to be a physical player,
right? It's impossible to play the game.
There's no such thing as safe football.
That's just like being in the boxing ring, man. The sport is designed for you to hit and not be hit, but everybody gets hit.
It's designed to inflict damage, right? So like, you can change the rules where you got to move your head a little bit to the side, but like, having participated in some of the CTE research and getting to know Chris Nowinski, is the CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, it's really the minor collisions, like just the kind of garden variety, offensive lineman coming off the ball, fullback meeting a linebacker, like those kind of collisions, enough of those, thousands of those over years, are what lead to the degenerative brain disease, not so much like the one massive concussion. So I think that's something that like a lot of folks kind of get wrong when they hear about brain injuries from football. It's not just getting knocked out cold. It's just the repetitive use of your head as an instrument, right? Because your helmet is the hardest thing on your body. So like, when I was taught how to play football, like, this is what you used to like maim people, right? Like, that was the name of the game, right?
Right.
Like, if I was talking to a young player, I would say that, like, my son, for example, am I going to tell him not to play football? I'm not going to go that far, right? I think football is an opportunity creator. There's 85 D1 scholarships. There's 110 spots on any team, including walk-ons. Like, that is an opportunity creator. But I would say that just in terms of like, going in and being aware of the risks, right? Like, because having dealt with some of the symptoms of CTE, like, I don't know if I have it, right? But having dealt with more severe depression and, other things, it's just, would I change anything? No. But I wish I would have been smarter about how I used my head and how I reported concussions.
Right. So check this out. Let me ask you this. So after leaving the NFL, right? What did you want to do career-wise, and what was that transition like?
It's tough. Those first 2 years, anyone that, had any sort of NFL career, or honestly, even guys that finished in college, like, when you're done playing, there's always going to be a 2-year adjustment period, right? Because you kind of go from a lifetime of being Superman to a lifetime of being Clark Kent, right? Because like, you're playing on TV, you're this famous athlete, you're at the peak of your sport, and then 1 year later, you're an intern, and your boss is 5 years younger than you, and you don't know shit about this industry. And it just takes time, right? So for me, it really just took years. It really took 5 years to build a new identity. And I think the guys who are most successful are the ones who already have something sort of developed prior to retiring. I know guys who are in Bitcoin, or guys investing in real estate, or they have a foundation, or, just something, a clothing brand, just something where you can invest your time and your effort immediately when you retire, because it's going to be an emotional toll on any player, especially in a game like football where you're so all in, for such a long period of time. So for me, it was tough, but I bounced around different internships trying to get it going. And, I'm still very much in an exploratory phase, right? Do I go back to school and get, another degree?
Right.
I'm interested in doing something entrepreneurial. But it really is a whole new world as a former NFL player. I think Tony Romo might have said this. It's not his quote, but he said, as an athlete, you die 2 deaths, right? One when you retire, and then one when you're actually in the grave.
Right.
And it really is true, because life is right. Yeah, life is so different as an NFL player. It's not like being a rapper where you can still do tours forever, right? You can always have shows, and like once you're done playing football, it is over.
It's over.
It's over forever, right? And that's just shocking to everyone, to everyone that played at a high level. So, I think a lot of my contemporaries, being Stanford guys, like a lot of them already had something else sort of that they wanted to do with their career, right? So for the most part, they're doing pretty well. I know guys who've really gotten into mindfulness or like yoga. Other guys, we've kind of related about head injuries. Like, not a lot of guys talk about it publicly, but just about everyone deals with some consequences from playing football cognitively.
Right.
So it really does vary. Some guys do great, and some guys, take some time to build a new identity.
Another thing that's really important to you is a thing called mental health. You know what I'm saying? So can you tell us a bit about your journey with mental health?
I have struggled with depression and anxiety as far back as I can remember. I would say that playing in the NFL and afterwards was this like marked increase. Like, I could really just tell a noticeable difference in being more depressed. And, in terms of like why, is it bullygate? Is it just dealing with the stress playing the NFL? Is it head injuries? Is it some combination? Probably, the last option.
Right.
But, I'm really passionate about athletes being proactive about the mental game. It's something that wasn't talked about a lot when I was playing. I remember I had a couple friends who talked to sports psychologists, but I think athletes need to fully realize that taking care of your mental, as Marshawn Lynch, calls it, is really like as important as taking care of your physical body, right? Just because it affects your sleep, it affects your ability to perform in the weight room, ability to perform on the field. So, like, if you're feeling depressed or anxious, or you have any down symptoms, like working on that and reporting those like you would any other injury, I think would benefit quite a few athletes, because something like 1 in 3 college athletes will deal with a major depressive episode at some point, right? Wow. So, like, it's a lot of guys, and a lot of NFL guys deal with depression. I think a lot of the things that appear in the news where guys are beating up their wife or doing something else that's silly and terrible could be avoided if guys just took care of their mental health, right? Just like acknowledging that head injuries from playing football lead to depression. Depression leads to substance abuse. Substance abuse leads to making bad decisions, right?
Right.
And having someone that's experienced that, right? And just knowing that, like, if you're just proactive, right? So the way I look at it is living a holistic lifestyle. Right. So eating healthy, working out, getting enough sleep, staying hydrated, engaging with friends and family, and then also more traditional things like talking to a therapist and taking medication. These are all things that I need and want to perform at a high level. And I honestly wish I would have taken these things more seriously as a sophomore in college, right? When I knew I had depression, but I was just telling myself I'm soft, right? And it's funny because that sort of, I call my inner whipping boy, right? That kind of negative voice in your mind. Like, I use that as motivation for the longest time as an athlete, like hating myself into working harder, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But I wish I would have flipped the script, right? And come from a place of positivity, right? Why not, be healthy? Like, okay, I messed up on that play. It's not that I suck, right? It's more just like, how do I be positive and think about it in a way where it's like, I'm gonna do better the next time. And it's just like this archaic way that football coaches operate, right? Where it's just like bully coaching, for lack of a better term, right? Where it's beating up players and beating them down. Like, I honestly think you can get more out of your players by taking still tough love, but being more supportive and proactive about like supporting them holistically, not just physically, but also like emotionally and mentally. And you're going to end up with better results, right? So I really think that like a lot of these negative stories could be avoided if there's just even more of an emphasis on mental health with football players in particular. So,
hey, let me tell you something, man. One thing about your answers that I like, they're definitely in full. You know what I'm saying? I'm for real. They're definitely in full, man. You know what I'm saying? And the average person right now that's watching our podcast could get a lot out of you, bro. You know what I'm saying? For real, man. I mean, I appreciate you, man, just taking this time, man. You know what I'm saying? Just coming down here, man, and even kicking it with me, man. You know what I'm saying? Before I let you go, I got to ask you one final question. I mean, not one final question. I got 2 more final questions, all right? But check this out. You were in the news for a social media post that you made that landed you into some trouble a few years ago. But I want to congratulate you, man, on getting those charges dropped. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the worst moment of my life, right? Bar none. But one of those things where it was kind of misconstrued. It's not what some people might think it was. And the biggest thing for me is it wasn't a victimless situation, right? There were kids involved in high school, right? It's horrible to think about, and it's hard to live with, right? And you can't apologize enough times. But it's also not who I am, right? It was a mistake. And there's additional context to it, but no one actually cares about that, after you do something stupid. But, it's not in a great position. So it's one of those things where I do want to talk about it in more detail. I'll talk about it more in my documentary. But it was a life-changing moment for me, right? It really put me on this path of sobriety and just being very proactive about my mental health and being passionate about talking about these things, right? How can I help other players avoid some of the same mistakes I made, right? And really it just comes back to taking care of your mental health, like being proactive, so.
Well, but let me ask you this: if you could change one thing about your journey, right, through the NFL and all that you've been through, bro, what would that be?
I mean, I would have loved to have been drafted by a different team.
Okay.
I mean, if I could have avoided Bullygate. No, but in all
Right.
seriousness, I've learned from this situation. It's a very unique journey. But I really wouldn't change anything sitting here at 32. It's really, some moments where I didn't think I was going to make it several times, right? Am I going to get locked up? Am I going to be in a box in the ground, right? And it's those experiences that you really learn the most from and grow from, right? So honestly, I wouldn't change anything. Just the idea being that it really only is a bad thing if you don't learn from your mistakes. And that's really what I'm big about, is not repeating the same mistakes.
Hey, yo, check this out. Last but not least, is there anything you would want the world to know about Jonathan Martin that they don't know? People that misconceived you, the type of person that you are inside. I mean, is there anything you want the world to know about the individual Jonathan Martin? Lay it out there, bro. Put it out there, man.
Man, I'm not who you might think I am. From folks in LA specifically who might have only seen tidbits of me in the media. I think that's frustrating. You could probably relate to this as a public figure, where it's there's only the negative parts that appear in TMZ or LA Times or wherever. It's when something positive happens, that isn't what they focus on, right? So that's been really frustrating as a public figure. But I would say, the biggest thing is we're all human. We make mistakes. It's just some people's mistakes end up in the news, right? So,
yo, man, is there anything? What's next for you? I want to know what's next for Jonathan Martin, man. And if there's anything that that you're doing, that you want to promote, that you want the world, put it out there.
Yeah, the biggest thing is this documentary I got coming out next year. Talk about my story in detail and hopefully give a different perspective than the current story. And my goal is to heal both myself and then other individuals involved, and hopefully come to some sort of understanding, maybe with people that might still feel some type of way. And honestly, yeah, just positivity, right? Keep it going, right? Life is going to throw you challenges, and you got to just recommit to the process, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, man, listen, bro. Thank you, man. Thank you so much, bro, for coming by my show, man. Thank you for gracing my studio with your presence. Thank you for telling us about your amazing journey that you've been on. You know what I'm saying? In the whole nine. And not only that, but I hope that everybody that watched this podcast, I hope y'all get to learn something from this man. You know what I'm saying? Because he had a lot to teach about today. You know what I'm saying? In the whole nine. With this NFL, head injuries, bullying in the NFL, all that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, listen, man. The man is deep. I don't care what nobody say. You deep, bro. You real deep. And it was an honor and a pleasure to sit here and talk with you, man. And not only that, but can I put my bragging rights out there? I can put my bragging rights out there?
Yeah.
I'm the first one to talk to him. I am the first one to talk to Jonathan since he left the NFL. Not only am I the first one, I'm the only one. You know what I'm saying? For real. You know what I'm saying? And that's big to me, bro. So thank you, man, for even letting me have this opportunity, man. You know what I'm saying? For real, man. And I just want to say good luck with everything you do. You know what I'm saying? Good luck with your life, your future, your goals, your family, everything, bro. You know what I'm saying? For real, because everything that's good that's coming your way, I don't care what nobody say. You deserve it, man. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much, bro.
Thanks for having me, man. This was an honor. It's a dream of mine, to even spend time in your presence, man. Like, I was a huge Flavor Flav fan. I still am, right?
Thank you, man.
So, this was a treat, man. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, man. Everybody in the place to be, rocking from the bottom to the top. Can't nobody do it like me. I got my boy Jonathan Martin in the building. Thank you, Jonathan. Oh, wait. Hold up. Wait, hold on. You can't escape yet. Guess what? I got something for you.
Oh, wow.
What? Yo, keep the cameras rolling, little brother. Y'all can keep it rolling while I'm doing this right now because I want everybody to see this is real. Watch this. Jonathan, from me to you.
Oh, wow. Okay. I appreciate it, man.
My book, bro. You know what I'm saying? Word, I want you to have that.
I appreciate it,
and I want you to read that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't gonna lie, the journey that I've been on is crazy too. And I want you to read about it, you know what I'm saying? But that's my gratitude and my thanks to you, man.
You still have that suit?
Huh?
You still have that suit?
I still got the suit.
You still got the suit?
I still got the clock.
You got that clock still?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the crown, I ain't gonna lie, I let my son, Karma, get a hold of the crown and that thing is demolished. But it's okay. He's 14 years old now. You know what I'm saying? Usually he's here with me when I do my podcasts and everything. You'll get to meet him one day. It's a real cool kid, you know what I'm saying? So that crown is done. But I got the suit, the shoes, the glasses, clock, all that still to this day. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you something, man. I don't care what nobody say, man. You scored big with me, bro. Word up, G. On the strength, man. Have you ever scored a touchdown?
So in 6th grade, this is the only time I've ever scored a touchdown. During flag football, we were up 50-0
but you never
on the team. No.
But in the pros, you never recovered a fumble or something?
I recovered 2 fumbles in the pros.
Yeah, did you get any interceptions?
No. I knocked the ball down once. That was almost a pick versus Notre Dame.
But you did recover some fumbles?
Yeah.
And just never took it over the goal line?
It's not fun recovering a fumble, by the way. Because so when I recovered one, it was versus the Texans. It was my first ever NFL game. I jump on the ball and it is right under my diaphragm, and 7 dudes jump on top of me. They're clawing at me, they claw my face. And I can't breathe. I'm literally about to pass out.
That was crazy, bro.
Right, and then everyone gets off me, and as I'm about to black out, I stand up.
Wow.
And Reggie Bush was like, "Thanks, man. I appreciate it, mate."
Well, guess what?
He a fumble. But,
well, guess what?
Yeah.
I don't care. You just scored a touchdown today. Word up, man. For real, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yo, Jonathan Martin, everybody. Word up, G, on the strength. Everybody, thank you all for tuning into the Flavor Flav show. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it ain't been fake. It's been real. I want to thank all of you for your time. This time, till next time. Yeah, boy. Thank you, Jonathan.
Appreciate it.
My dude. Ain't nothing small about this guy.